Welcome to English Lessons with Dr. Vinamrata.
Our Casuarina Tree by Torudat. Presented to you by Dr. Vinamrata. Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to critically appreciate a poetry written by Torudat, which is considered as one of her masterpieces, that is titled Our Casuarina Tree. It is a poetry where the casuarina tree is made immortal and is thought upon, is remembered by the poet because the casuarina is associated with the memories of her siblings who are no more. So the death of the siblings arise a kind of nostalgia in the mind of Torudat, and whenever she remembers them, she is reminded of the faithful casuarina beneath which they played and beneath which they together grew. So it is one of the poetries which is associated with the memories of her lost and late siblings. Now let's start up with the detailed analysis of the poetry and about the poet. About the poet. Torudat, 4th March 1856 to 30th of August 1877. She was a Bengali translator and poet from India who wrote in English and French in the pre-independence era of India. Dutt's family was influenced by European culture and also embraced Christianity. In 1869, Dutt's family left India, making her and her sister some of the first Bengali girls to travel by sea to Europe. They first lived in France from 1869 to 1870, and during this time, Dutt studied French. She is one of the founding figures of the Anglo-Indian literature, alongside H.N. Desrosiers, Manmohan Ghosh, and Sarojini Naidu. Dutt is known for her volumes of poetry in English, titled A Sheaf Gleaned in French Fields, 1877, and Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, 1882. She also wrote a novel in French titled Les Journaux de Mademoiselle de Arvoris in 1879. Her poems revolve around the themes of loneliness, longing, patriotism, and nostalgia. So, while talking about the poetry has got 5 stanzas, and all of the stanzas contains 11 lines each. The rhyme scheme of the poetry is A B B A, C D D C, E E E. Our Casuarina Tree was published in 1881. In this poem, Torudat celebrates the majestic view of the Casuarina tree when admired from her casement or when the siblings played beneath it. She remembers her happy childhood days spent under it and revives her memories with her beloved siblings. It still remains one of the most popular poems in modern Indian literature. Dutt was the youngest of the 3 siblings, and both the elder siblings, who were Abju and Aru, they died of consumption. The poem is dedicated to her siblings and is associated with their fond memories that they spent near the Casuarina tree. She spent her childhood in Calcutta with the siblings, and those fond memories become the crux of the present poem. She wants to make the tree immortal, like the immortal yew trees of Borrowdale, a poem written by Wordsworth, where the trees of Borrowdale are made immortal by the mention of Wordsworth. Now, many times Torudat is compared to Keats, because Keats also died of consumption and Torudutt also died very young of consumption, and just before Torudutt died, her siblings had already met the same fate, and same was with Keats. So somewhere or the other, she is one of the younger poets who died very young but wrote in that short span only, which has influenced us till now, till date. So she is many times compared, because of the same fate and because of the way she wrote and because of the family suffering, or what the fate, not only the family suffering, what happened with the poet also. The similar thing happened with Keats. So many a time she is associated with Keats. Now coming to the full poetry. Like a huge python winding round and round the rugged trunk, indented deep with scars upon its summits near the Sar. A creeper climbs, in whose embraces bound no other tree could live. But gallantly the giant wears the scarf, and the flowers are hung in crimson clusters, all the boughs among, whereon all day are gathered bird and bee, and oft at night the garden overflows with one sweet song that seems to have no close, sung darkling from our tree while men repose. So this is the first stanza, and you see here she is talking about, it starts with a simile where she is comparing a creeper to a python. There is a creeper which is rising up to the stars very high, because it is rising up to the stars with the support of the casuarina tree, and it has embraced the casuarina tree all around. It has wound the tree, and it looks as if it is a python who is trying to somehow strangle the tree. And because of the creeper all around, the scars can be visible on the huge tree, and round the rugged trunk of the tree the creeper is climbing, and it is reaching up to the height of the tree. And because this also indicates that the tree is very tall, it is so tall that she is comparing it to be reaching towards the stars. It is up towards the sky, and the creeper is climbing, and she is saying that the bond of the creeper, the strangling of the creeper is so tight, so deep, that no other tree could have survived it. But casuarina is such a strong tree, it is such a brave soul, brave heart, that just like a gallant, it's wearing it like a scarf around the neck or around the body. So for casuarina it makes no difference. It is indifferent to the presence of the creeper, and gallantly it is wearing this creeper like a scarf, and because of that flowers are hung around all around the casuarina in boughs in crimson colors, because the creeper has got crimson flowers. So all around the casuarina these crimson colored flowers are hanging, and casuarina is the resting place, the nesting place for so many bees and birds which gather around all the day long, and not only the day long but even at night, because at night also the garden is overflowing with the sweet songs that these birds sing while resting on the tree, while people are reposing, while people are relaxing, are gone to bed. At that time also, during the time when it is dark, the tree could be resonating, could be heard, that there are several voices, several songs of birds resonating from the tree. So that is the first stanza. The beauty of the casuarina is described, and also its majestic view. It is very strong and large, and a gallant like tree which she mentions. And then we move on to the second stanza. When first my casement is wide open thrown, at dawn my eyes delighted on it rest. Sometimes, and most in winter, on its crest a grey baboon sits statue-like alone, watching the sunrise while on lower boughs his puny offspring leap about and play. And far and near kokilas hail the day. And to their pastures wend our sleepy cows, and in the shadow on the broad tank cast by that hoar tree so beautiful and vast, the water lilies spring like snow enmassed. So again, a more vivid description of the casuarina tree. Uh, Generally, at times when it is dawn, and because from the window or from her porch the casuarina is visible, she opens her casement, and when she comes to the casement, she could see casuarina in front of her balcony or a window, and from there she observes that there is a grey baboon sitting there on the very crest of the tree. And baboon is a monkey species, a species from monkey. So, and not only the casuarina is thus the place for birds and bees, but it is also the place, resting place for many other animals like baboons also come and rest there at times. So many a time she sees the baboon, especially in winters. And not only the baboon, but its small puny small offspring is also seen playing among the lower branches, while the mother baboon sits on the top branches and looks towards the sky and the rising of the sun. The little small baby baboon jumps all around the tree. And then she mentions the kokilas singing there, and then she mentions the sleepy cows coming there to graze beneath the tree. And there is a tank, a water tank below the tree, and underneath the shade of the water tank, maybe because of the water and grass present there, many animals would be coming for grazing. That's why the cows are also mentioned. And in those or in that water tank there are many flowers rising, the white colored flowers which looks like snow has covered the tank, and those are white water lilies which can be observed from the window of the poet. Then we move on to the third stanza. But not because of its magnificence, dear is the casuarina to my soul. Beneath it we have played, though years may roll. O sweet companions loved with love intense, for your sake shall the tree be ever dear. Blent with your images it shall rise in memory, till the hot tears blind mine eyes. What is that dirge like murmur that I hear, like the sea breaking on the shingle beach? It is the tree's lament and eerie speech, that haply to the unknown land may reach. So in the third stanza, she mentions the dearness of casuarina to her, and why is that dearness? Till now, in the first two stanzas, she was explaining the majestic view of casuarina and how strong and grand casuarina was. But that is not the real purpose of remembering casuarina. But the real purpose is because whenever she remembers casuarina, the images of the siblings comes back to her mind, or whenever she remembers her siblings, maybe casuarina is associated with those images, so casuarina automatically comes into place, and the images of her sister and her brother come to her mind, with whom she used to play beneath the casuarina tree, until those images become so real that it is so much alive in her memory that she feels that they are standing in front of her, and their images are there until and unless, or till the point when her eyes are flooded with tears, and when the tears finally come into the eyes, the images are gone, the images blur. So again, she is in some different place, she is not in India, she is outside India, she is writing from some very different country. So she is talking about those seas and beaches where she is now, and she remembers India, she remembers casuarina tree, she remembers the memories associated with it. And then she says that she can hear a dirge, like a song written on the death of somebody, a mourning song, like murmur from somewhere. And it looks like as if the sea is breaking on the shingle beach, but no, it is not the sound of the sea, but it is the sound of the casuarina lamenting on the death of the dear ones. And she feels that this lament, this song, this sad song of casuarina, composed by casuarina, will reach to the unknown lands, because where the sister and brother are gone, she does not know. Maybe heaven, maybe some other world that people refer to, nobody knows. So she is referring to that unknown world, which we really don't know what it is, but we believe to be some after world after this world. So she believes that in that world the siblings are gone, and this lament is going to reach to those siblings in that some unknown land. Now moving to the fourth stanza, unknown yet known to the eyes of faith. Ah, I have heard that wail far, far away in distant lands by many sheltered bay. When slumbered in his cave the water wraith, and the waves gently kiss the classic shore of France or Italy beneath the moon, when earth by tranced in a dreamless swoon, and every time the music rose before mine inner vision rose a form sublime, thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime I saw thee in my own loved native clime. Again she is referring to the place where she is now, maybe in France or Italy. So she is to some on the beaches of some classic shore, because obviously Italy and France are classical places. But she, amidst these strange lands, is remembering her native clime, her native climate, her native place, that is India, where casuarina was there. And whenever she in this another country, maybe France or Italy, when she is standing near the sea, when she is imagining the water to be a water wraith, and she is offering that water to the departed souls, in that place, in that position, in that country, in that unknown shores, when the seas are gently kissing the classic shore, there the image of casuarina is always coming back to her mind, and there she remembers the vision, the sublime vision of the casuarina tree. The form rises in her mind as if it is real, and it is imagined in her mind, and she can see her native climate all rising up, all taking up shapes as if they are very much real. And in the very starting of this stanza she has mentioned that unknown yet known to the eyes of faith. Unknown places, obviously we don't know what is after this world, whether it is heaven or hell or what not, but those who believe, if you are a believer, you will believe that there is a heaven or a hell after this world. So it is believed by the eyes of faith, it is believed by the people who believe in God or who believe in heaven. And she also is trying to believe on that fact and saying that okay, maybe many people would not be believing in this fact, but she believes that there is some unknown land where the brother and sister are gone, and she wants to lay before them this offering, this song, this music which casuarina and the poet are composing with the help of one another to reach to those siblings. And she says that she has heard the wail, the cry of the casuarina tree in the far distant lands also, because she is away, she is in France or Italy, but still casuarina is weeping for the departed soul. And then after that we move on to the fifth and the final stanza, where she says, therefore I fain would concentrate a lay upon thy honor, tree beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for a repose. Now the siblings are sleeping, now they are reposing, now they are actually reference that they are finally gone to the deep sleep from where they will never come back to life. So she is composing a lay. A lay is a short song offering a poetry. So she is comparing this poem in the honor of the tree and in the honor of the beloved who are gone, who are now sleeping. Dearer than life to me. They were more dearer to her than her own life. Alas, were they. Mayst thou be numbered when my days are done with deathless trees like those of Borrowdale. So she says that the tree and the beloved who are gone, who are departed, who are dead, were so close to her that she wants to make them immortal, just like the immortal trees of Borrowdale. Because on the trees of Borrowdale, Wordsworth had composed a poetry and it became very famous. So she says that just like that, she also wants to make Casuarina tree an immortal tree. And with her, or with the Casuarina tree, will be associated the memories of her siblings. So they will also become immortal. Under whose awful branches lingered pale fear, trembling hope, and death the skeleton, and time the shadow. And though weak the verse that would thy beauty feign, O fain rehearse, my love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So she refers to the fact that beneath the branches of Casuarina, the three siblings used to play, and they never knew what is lurking behind, what is coming, and groping to catch them, to snatch them, to actually take two of them away. And finally Toru will also be gone till the composition of this poem. Maybe she is not known about this fact that her days are also very few to be numbered. So she mentions three things which are inevitable, which people think that they can evade but they cannot. One is fear, another is death, and the third one is time. Time, nobody can meet it. Time is the shadow which comes and gropes and devours you. Death is something which is permanent, which lingers, which is like the skeleton. Today you are fresh and youthful and all in full bloom, but next day you may be no more, you may be a skeleton. And fear, although fear is something which is constant, because we always live in this constant fear or constant restraint of what is going to happen. Maybe when is my death going to occur, or when my near ones and dear ones may not be there for me. So not only about ourselves but about our family, about our business, power, position, money, so many things that we bother about. So there is always a constant fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what is going to become in future, what is our fortune. So there is always a trembling hope associated with fear. There is hope, people hope, obviously we are used to deal our life with the spirit of hope only. If there is no hope, the world will stop. But still, the hope is not permanent. Hope is trembling. We also constantly live in the threat of, or live in the fear of what is going to happen. So all these three things are permanent. But whatever may be, even the death has come, even they have departed, even the siblings are no more with her, but she will try to save them from oblivion's curse. Means oblivion is forgetfulness. She will save them from forgetfulness, because she is going to make them immortal. Although she says that her words may be weaker, her verse may be weaker, she has not got that potential, her poetry is not that potent, not that strong that it can defend the immortality of the siblings, but she believes in the power of love, and she says that the love is so strong that she has this in her mind and she believes it strongly, that because of the composition of this weak verse, although the siblings are going to become immortal. So that was all about this poetry, line by line. Now a brief synopsis I'll give to you, although we have discussed it in detail. It is an autobiographical poem about the pathos of the poet who is living abroad and is pining for the company of her lost siblings and her native clime. She is trying to relive the memories of childhood. The poem itself begins with the simile where a creeper is climbing like a python towards the sky as if trying to strangle the tree. On the contrary, the tree is like a gallant. Another simile, wearing the creeper like a scarf around its rugged trunk. No other tree could have survived the strangling. As for Casuarina, it is ornamented with the beautiful crimson flowers from the creeper, as if dangling from the boughs of the tree itself. The whole day it is flooded by bees and birds, and not only at day but even at night when the men get to relax and sleep, the hustle and bustle on Casuarina tree can be experienced. In the second stanza, the poet mentions a grey baboon, that is from a monkey family, and its little baby sitting and playing on the branches of the tree and admiring the early morning rays of the sun. The tree is the shelter of many animals and birds, from kokilas to sleepy cows who come there to graze underneath the tree. The tree even shades a water tank full of white water lilies resembling snow. Another simile is mentioned here. In the third stanza, Torudutt unravels her true inner feelings of her closeness and appreciation of the tree. It is not because of the magnificence of the Casuarina, but because of the memories associated with it that the tree is so close to her heart. The three siblings used to play near the Casuarina, and the images of her siblings comes back to her when she remembers the tree. She keeps on imagining the old nostalgic scenes till her eyes flood with tears and the images are gone. Still, she feels that the tree laments for the loss, like the murmuring dirge, like song created by sea. She feels that the song may reach to unknown lands where the dear ones are gone. She extends the image of unknown land further in the next stanza. She asserts that although the place where they are gone is unknown, but it is recognized by the eyes of faith. Although she is in some foreign land near the shores of Italy or France, but the thought of her brother and sister brings back to her imagination her native climate. Also comes flooding back the image of Casuarina, and when the earth is enveloped by moonlight, the song rises and also the sublime vision becomes clearer in front of her eyes of those happy times. In the final stanza, she devotes this lyric to her siblings and wants to make them immortal, trying to escape the oblivion curse of forgetfulness. She hopes that the tree will be remembered forever as the yew trees of Borrowdale, immortalized by Wordsworth, are still remembered. She immortalizes the tree for the sake of her loved ones by writing a poem for it. She believes that death, fear, and time are eternal and unchangeable, but she can immortalize the beloved ones by her love for them through this poem. So that is all about this poetry. One last quote from the poem itself, which is very thought provoking. Under those awful branches lingered pale fear, trembling hope, and death the skeleton, and time the shadow. And though weak the verse that would thy beauty fain, O fain rehearse, my love defend thee from oblivion's curse. So such beautiful lines, it gives you everything about the poem, that if you are truly loving someone and if you are truly motivated by some guiding factor which you feel that you are doing for somebody else, you are sure to get benefit out of it, or actually not benefit, you are sure to actually finalize that situation, whatever you are trying to do, whatever your aim is for some other person. If you are trying to do something, you will finally attain it. And just like Casuarina tree was immortalized by Torudutt, that was a dream to immortalize the tree, and it is obviously, because if not, then how are we reading it today? Plus, she also beautifully explains the metaphor of life and the importance of death, actually, because death is inevitable, death is the ultimate reality of life. Along with it comes fear and time. Time is also precisely, the time is fixed for anything in this world. Fortune or time, whatever you may call it, it is fixed. So it is all in the hands of the fate, and whatever fate summons we have to follow. So that is all about this poetry, and I'm sure you all must have understood it. If yes, then please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. Thank you.